Thinking Aloud. Conversations on the leading edge of knowledge and discovery with psychologist Jeffrey Mishlove.
One of my very first experiences in remote viewing at SRI International took place with you as the outbound experimenter back in 1976.
Wow, it was so interesting because I approached the whole thing as what I call an open-minded skeptic. Very skeptical, but open to the possibilities. So, I went outbound, and
maybe we should define what an outbound experimenter is.
Okay, we'll define the roles.
Yeah.
The subject perceiver is someone that either someone that might be well known like Ingo Swann or Pat Price, but in general they were the engineer or the secretary down the hall that I could get free for lunch to be a viewer.
And in my case, a visiting graduate student.
A visiting graduate student. And then you have a monitor with the viewer, and they help elicit. It's sort of like the viewer's the right brain, and the left brain questions like, are you perceiving something? Are clues, but they have to be non-invasive. They have to not steer the viewer, because the monitor may not be correct in what he's assessing.
And in this instance, back in 1976, the monitor was Russell Targ.
Russell Targ,
who
yes.
is the author now of many books on remote viewing and one of the pioneers in the field. And of course, he couldn't ask me any leading questions because he didn't know what the target was.
Then you have a set of randomly chosen target geographical locations, basically bank building or maybe a church or a playground or, and they're put in envelopes, sealed, and actually a safe.
I understand the target pool consisted of maybe 100 locations, all within a half-hour drive of the SRI International facility, which is like a big college campus in Menlo Park, California.
Right. And so then you take out a set of those envelopes. So you do a series of 6 to 8 experiments together. And there's no marking on the envelopes. They're randomized. And then you use a random number generator. When the outbound person, when I'm in the car, so then I randomly choose one of those envelopes and go to that target and spend 15 minutes there. Now, there is a trick to being an outbound experimenter, because you really need to be there. And if you're fuming over your tax statement, you're going to get the noise in the system. You actually have to pay attention of where you are for 15 minutes. And I'll tell you a funny story about.
Because you're like a telepathic sender.
Yes, you are a sender. You're a beacon. So it was a cyclone overpass, a cyclone fence, and I was with a clipboard with a tape recorder. So I'm going along feeling the cyclone fence, and a cop comes up to me. He said, "What are you doing?" And I said, "There's a psychic recipient perceiving me at SRI, and I'm sending him a message about this target." And he looked at me really funny. And he calls to his buddy, and he says, "This is a 50-50, which I found out later what it meant. But I looked up against the sky, and you could see the cross wires, and you drew that perfectly. You drew the your drawings were so accurate. You said there were yellow and pink flowers, all accurate. And I found out later what 50-50 meant. Nuts but harmless."
But actually, although it might appear to be nuts, this was a serious scientific experiment.
It was. A lot of funding went into it and a lot of work. It's like any experiment. I don't care whether it's a physics experiment, a biology experiment, it has to be very carefully done.
I was in an electromagnetically sealed room so that if you had tried to send me a message using a radio transmitter, it wouldn't have gotten through to me.
Now.